Happy Sunday. This is Bobby and JJ Radio. We have Miss Brenda Dorador with the Military Transition Network. I want to say thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and so I heard that you were in the Army, and your buddy here, Mr. Cedric Brown, shout out to him. He couldn't make it today, but he's in the Navy. You guys got together because you saw a need in the community, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that need and how you guys are feeling it.
Back in September, me and Cedric ran into each other at a mixer, at a networking mixer. We were talking about our transitioning stories, and we both kind of shared and resonated in each other's stories as far as our transition and a few things that we can kind of develop and help our transitioning members and some of the gaps that we found in our own transition. And
you want to talk about some of the things that you guys had in common that you realized, even being in two different branches of the military, what are some common problems that happen when you're getting out? And how long were you in the service, by the way?
I was in the service for 21 years.
Okay, so 21 years, and probably, I'm assuming, right out of elementary school.
Right out of elementary school. I was like there.
Is that legal?
I was shining boots in kindergarten.
There you go.
And
but that's probably the only life you knew at that point of your life.
At that point, I went to college for about a semester.
Sure.
And then I went ahead and joined the Army because I actually didn't like the Navy uniform.
Right.
So that was my motivation to not go into the Navy.
Yeah.
Make sure you tell Cedric that.
I'll make sure.
And yeah, so that was my my entry, and my motivation to go into the Army was for education and college.
For sure.
I finished. My goal was get my bachelor's, get that finished up, and go ahead and finish my first term.
Sure.
And that's it. But
it became
my first term,
a short career. It seems like.
Yeah, my 4 years turned into 21 years, and no regrets and no looking back after that.
But now you transition from this establishment that is hundreds of years old, that has a pecking order, it has bureaucracy, that has a very clear line of who's over you and who makes decisions, right, of your progress. And then you come into what you all call civilian life, right?
That's what we call it, yes.
Yeah, you're one of us now. And so what were the trials and tribulations when that happened?
For me, when I spoke with Cedric, my transition was actually not the norm, and it was, in my opinion, it was a positive transition. I had a very good chain of command, is what we call like our supervisors.
Right.
When I received my retirement orders, which I received it a year out from my actual retirement date, my command supported the fact that I needed that time to transition from the service, and the transition was about 12 months out.
Wow.
So they allowed me to do the planning, whether it be for medical, get my resumes together, get the networking done, without having to
skip a beat for the most part. You're just going to be ready to go out and conquer the world.
Just ready to go and not be tied to the desk at the office.
Because 21 years, you got free food, free medical, you have housing.
It's like that?
I remember my dad was when we were Reserve Force, and he told me the stories. He's like, you have everything done for you.
Yes, very much. The culture is fail-proof.
Right.
In the sense, because obviously we don't want anybody to have a need, because the focus is readiness.
Right.
If there is something that is, in the family life and the home life that is not taken care of, then the service member's not ready for whether it be deployment, whatever the mission is.
Sure.
So how do we take care of readiness, make sure that food is always on the table, right? So they get a food allowance. Housing is always there, whether they live on base or off base.
Medical, needed.
Medical is always available. All those things that are
the basics.
Required. Yeah.
The basic necessities of life, like almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Correct.
They cover like halfway through, and then you jump into civilian life.
And then we come and jump into civilian.
And it's
life.
completely upside down.
I wouldn't say completely upside down.
But it can be. I think some veterans can feel that way a little bit.
Now the feeling might be that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's just an adjustment, especially because it's over 2 decades. Right. So what do you all do? How do you fill in the gap? How are you helping these veterans transition into what me and Bob have taken for granted of just normal civilian life?
Normal for us.
Yeah, normal for us.
So for the first part, what we do try to fill is assuring them that what they're going through, what they're feeling is normal.
Right.
A
Frustrated.
transition, not necessarily frustration. The transition is a transition anytime, because we transition every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
We go from, I was talking to Bob, I went from Hawaii to Georgia.
Yeah.
That's a huge transition.
Definitely.
Right? Like beautiful.
I'm sorry.
I went from beautiful, oceans to
Georgia.
And
Peaches.
Georgia peaches. And it was completely different. So we've been accustomed to transition. This is just a transition that is more out of the original culture.
Gotcha.
That we're accustomed to. So just helping them resonate a little bit more with that.
Right.
And doing the education piece on what the culture is and what has to be communicated a little bit differently.
Right.
I think that's some of the more stressful pieces.
Yeah. And you guys are also helping with job placement.
Yes. So we've pivoted since September quite a couple of times, and job placement has been a very difficult thing for veterans in transition, especially when they're at the latter part of their transition, or if they waited till like 30 days before they got out of the service, and then go out, because the competition is very, very heavy, and you have to know how to use the right verbiage in order to be as as equitable.
Whatever might have worked in the Army necessarily doesn't work with like with USA or.
Well, if
or
I was,
else.
if I'm a person just like you,
Sure.
but you probably have the the vernacular a lot better than what I would have for a position, because you've been working in those industries.
Right.
And you know what the right words are.
Yeah.
So
But you would think the opposite, that somebody coming from the military would have, I guess an employer would be looking at them maybe more favorably because they have the military experience.
now we have the experience, but it's how we communicate it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the stressors. I know that when we have service members that come to us, we have the experiences, we have the skill sets. It's how you communicate them, especially on paper.
Right.
When majority of the first steps is going through an automatic tracking system, the automated tracking system. You put in the resume into that the black hole is what it's called.
Yeah.
So you have to beat first the black hole.
Yeah. And there's actually the method to the madness where people are looking for keywords and stuff like that. Yeah,
right.
Definitely. So you're helping with that.
What does it cost to get assistance?
So with we are a for-profit organization.
Sure.
We do not charge the veteran anything for our seminars and workshops. We do have a coaching packages for career coaching, and that's completely separate. And that's if an individual would like individual services.
Sure.
Not required, but that is what keeps food on the table for us as career coaches.
For sure. And I know you guys have like these, like you said, you mentioned these workshops and seminars. Almost every last Wednesday you have Bourbon and Brews.
Yes, that is one of our networking events that we started this year.
And then there's a whole plethora of different workshops and seminars for these veterans coming out.
We do our seminars once a month at Geekdom.
Awesome.
And we usually do that the third Thursday of every month. And those are, like I said, free for the veterans as well. And we are going to start, this year we're starting our first annual conference. It's going to be up in Austin.
Cool.
And that is going to be our Upward Mobility Career Summit. And we're changing the vernacular. Upward mobility. What does that mean? Growth, professionalism, and going forward into that corporate sector, private sector. Start getting used to that climate.
Getting one prepped there. Well, thank you so much for what you do for these service members, and check this company out. You can look up everything that they're doing in the San Antonio metro area at militarytransitionnetwork.com. You can call them at 361-524-8644. Again, that's 361-524-8644. We'll be right back. Bobby and Cheese Radio.